Hey everybody! So as you guys know, I'm the host of the Caregiver and Spoonie podcast, but because I have received a lot of feedback in regards to getting to know me better, so people understand why I do what I do, I decided to create this blog where I'm gonna tell pretty much my whole story, like everything that has happened to me, or what all the things that I have dealt with in regards to my wife getting sick, all of these things, and I'm still gonna do the podcast, but this is just going to be my story, so you guys understand where I'm coming from when I talk about my stories in throughout the podcast. So let's get started now. Like as you guys know, my name is Jordan Banderas. I have the podcast. I also work for a mortgage servicer. I'm married to my lovely wife of 5 years, Katie. Fortunately, she has multiple health issues, which it includes having a stroke, fibromyalgia, and then there are other things that doctors think that they're genetic. So we don't know exactly what they are until we can see a geneticist, which it could take up to 2 years. Unfortunately, it looks like the geneticists are very busy right now for some reason. So that's what we're gonna have to do. It seems crazy, but here you go. So as I was saying, my name is Jordan Banderas. If you haven't heard about me, now you will. So I was born in 1987, and here's one thing. This is the first thing that I want to start on this episode is that it doesn't matter what you're going through. You're gonna hear everything about my story, all the bad things, but also there are good things in my life that happen, like meeting my wife. But right now, I'm just gonna focus on everything that caused me to be diagnosed with PTSD, and that's another thing, because if you haven't heard about the podcast, I was diagnosed with PTSD. I was like, "What is that?" It's a car downstairs. We live in an apartment that has that has some garages under us, so they have a nice old car, a nice Mustang, a 67. No, it's not a 67. It's more like a 72 Mustang with a nice engine. And I don't know if you can hear rumbling, but it's rumbling. So, like I was saying, I was diagnosed with PTSD, and a few years ago, and I had to deal with that at the same time that I was dealing with my wife getting sick. So it has been stressful the last few years, but let me tell you, don't lose hope if you're dealing with anything like that. Don't lose hope. Everything will pass. So just if you're going through something like that, be strong. But let's get to the blog real quick here. Like I was saying, I was diagnosed with PTSD. I I was born in 1987. That's one thing. I was born in 1987, and here's one thing that I remember. My parents got divorced very early when after I was born. Probably like I was like 2 or 3 years old. So I don't really remember a lot about my dad because he wasn't really there in the picture. I was raised by my mom, and then I have an older brother that is 7 years older than me, so we will always fight because of the age difference and because my brother is not the best, or he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, let's just say that. So he has his own issues, just like me, but I'm dealing with my own issues. My mom has her own issues. One of the things that I can tell you, and she's gonna kill me if she hears that, if she hears this whenever she does. After my dad divorced my mom, like looking back to therapy and everything, she's a very bitter woman. Like ever since she divorced my dad, she became very bitter, but bitter to the point of no return. Like she is bitter. Like I can tell you, she is bitter. So because my mom apparently was very, very bitter and angry for my dad leaving her with 2 kids and cheating on her multiple times, she became very bitter. So my mom was or is very much. She's very abusive. She was abusive physically, mentally, financially abusive. So So I know that a lot of people go through the same thing, and that's why I created a podcast, because one of the things that we take for granted is mental health. Now there's a lot of studies. I heard about this person. Unfortunately, I don't remember. I think he's an author or a psychologist. Uh, I forgot right now. Called Gabor Mate, and he says that most of the trauma that we're suffering as adults comes from childhood. Which, once you listen to my story, you will understand that for a lot of people it's true. So, for example, or in this case, where I want to start with is like the first memory that I remember. I don't remember going to the movies with my dad very much. I don't remember going to dinner or anything like that with my family. The first thing that I remember, I was around like 3 or 4 years old. We were living in Mexico because I'm from Mexico. We were living in Mexico in a house that a family member left my mom and my uncle. So we were living there, and I remember being in the room, in the bedroom, my mom's bedroom, playing in the bed, just like jumping around, and I saw her boots. I remember seeing her boots, and and I was like, as a little kid, you're gonna be curious. You're going to be curious. I don't know if you remember when you were a little kid, but I'm pretty sure you were curious. That's how we learn. That's how we pretty much learn how to walk, by being curious. Because first we start moving, then we start crawling, and then we move to walking. So that curiosity has always been there, and it stays with us. And that's one of the things I'm going to be talking about in this blog, about how curiosity, or my curiosity, helped me discover a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. But now it's mostly good things. So, like I was saying, I'm a very curious person. So, and that comes from childhood. So I put on the boots, and it was one of those old school boots that were like super long, all the way like above the knees. So I put them on. I'm like 4 years old, so they go all the way to my butt. So I was like, I'm gonna show my mom. So I go downstairs. She's downstairs in the kitchen, and I'm like, hey mom, look. And she's like, oh, you're gonna be wearing my boots? I'm gonna show you what it's like to wear my boots. Like, she was mad. For some reason she got mad. She chased me upstairs. She chased me to the room upstairs, along with my brother. And here's what happened. Both of them, I remember clearly, both of them beat me up very bad. Like, my mom told my brother, and I still remember to this day. I remember my mom telling my brother, is like, hold him so I can hit him. Like, that's what my mom said to my brother, who is 7 years older. So if I was like 3 or 4, he was like 7. I mean, he was like 10 or 11. So that's what he told my brother, and he did, and both of them beat me up. I remember. That's the first memory that I remember. One of the first memory ever. The first memory ever that I remember from childhood, actually, which is kind of messed up. And here's the pretty much the reason why I wanted to share that story, is because a lot of people, especially people that are struggling with depression, anxiety, PTSD, or anything, one of the first memories that you're gonna have is something bad. So I want you to know that you're not alone. It's okay to have a bad memory as your first memory. That's gonna make you feel bad. That's one of the things that it did to me. Like, it made me feel bad. It made me feel like I wasn't loved. It made me feel like I wasn't like my mom wasn't gonna be able to take care of me. Like, my brother, he's, like I said, not the sharpest tool in the shed. So it made me feel like my own brother didn't even like me. Like, my mom didn't like me because I wore her boots. So a lot of people are going to something like that. If you feel or you have a memory, your first memory is something bad, don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about it. That's how I used to feel. And one of the things that I'm going to be talking a lot is that therapy helped me so much. Therapy helped me so much. And it made me realize that even though that happened, that bad memory happened, it's okay to move on. Because as a kid, you're gonna be curious. Whatever you did as a kid, just remember this: you were curious. You probably, I don't know if you have ever done this, but I used to lick those square batteries, like the top. If you lick those batteries, I'm not saying that to do it, or this is not about your challenge. But what I'm saying is, like, if you lick the top, like the two connectors or whatever those things are called, if you lick it, it's gonna shock you, or it's gonna taste horrible. So I am that curious. So because of my curiosity, I got in trouble. I got in trouble with my mom. And one of the things that that's going to do for you, which is the most messed up part that adults suffer right now, is going to teach you that being curious is bad. But that's not true. Being curious is not bad. This is the main point that I want to create with this blog and the podcast. Being curious, being yourself is not bad. Being curious and being yourself is what you're supposed to do. For some reason, society and sometimes our parents, which they didn't give up, but they buckled to society's pressure. They want to make us look good. They want us to be better than them, but they don't know exactly how to do that. So they're going to project all those insecurities onto them, or into us, into the kids. They're going to project all their fears and everything that they're holding into their kids. That's what my mom did to me. I'm pretty sure that's what a lot of you guys are suffering from right now, especially with mental health, because suffering or going through something like this, whatever your trauma was, it's going to cause depression, it's going to cause anxiety, it's going to cause PTSD, it's going to cause so many things. It's going to isolate you mentally, because physically you're going to be out there in the world, but mentally you don't even know how to react. You're going to be scared, you're going to be always doubting yourself, you will feel depressed, you will feel anxious because you can't be yourself. You can't be yourself, so you're gonna fall into this particular thing that society has created, that everybody has to fit into a mold. Like, you have to look like somebody else and you can't be yourself. That's how I have felt for years until now. That's the reason why I can do the podcast. And the podcast is not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. This blog is not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. I don't care about perfection. I want to show my true self so I can show people and anybody that's interested in this type of blogs or in this type of podcast that you can be yourself. But right now, I just want to start with the first memory, which is, like I said, it was a beating from my mom and my brother for wearing her boots. So that's gonna be my first memory. Like I said, if you're feeling or you having the same that same memory, like a memory that is bad, one of the things that I recommend you is talk to yourself about it first. This is one of the things that have helped me process all of my trauma. Like, I talk to myself about it, and then I ask myself, how can I process this? How can I move on from this? And then I just work through it. Now, I didn't do it alone. My wife is my supporter. My therapy helped me. So you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. You can do it. If you have your best friend, if you have somebody that you can trust, you can talk to them about it. Let them know what you're gonna do. Let them know, like, hey, just say, like, hey, I need to talk to you about this. This is something that happened to me back in the day when I was a kid. I have never tell anybody, and I just want you to listen. And let them know that you just want somebody to listen, though. Because sometimes, unfortunately, the way that people are, they want to help. If you have your best friend that wants to help you, he or she will try to give you advice, but just sometimes you just need to like let that memory out so you can process it. And that's why I want to talk about my stories, because it also helps me process it as well. Here comes Alexa. Oh no, wait. Sorry. And one of the things that I'm not going to do in this blog, I'm not going to edit it. It's going to be raw, uncut. It's going to be just myself. It's going to be my true self. So I hope you guys like this. I'm going to be posting it. I'm going to try to post. No, I'm not going to try. I'm going to do it. I'm going to create a lot of episodes where I can post the podcast on Mondays. And episodes of the blog on Wednesday and Friday. So I hope you guys like this. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe. And if you want to share your story anonymously, I am going to do this still. You can actually email it to me at thecaregiverandspoonie@gmail.com. And just like in the podcast, I'm going to leave you with this. Always take care of yourself. And remember, you're not alone. We can get to whatever mental issue we have together, unless it's something that you can't really get to, like for example, like something that the medicine doesn't help or anything like that. So we can get to a lot of mental health issues together. I have done so much research, and that's why I want to create. That's why I created the podcast, so I can share the research. But now it's my turn on how I can use that research to help me, and that's what I want to do for you guys. So I hope you guys like this, and please let me know how I can improve this and the podcast. And overall, take care of yourself and have a great day.